You're watching
Seeking Stanley!
The President's Trophy winners. Exhale, British Columbia.
You're watching Seeking Stanley, powered by BC Hydro Power Smart. Let's be smart with our power.
Hey there, welcome to the CBC Vancouver studios, everyone, for this Game 4 edition of Seeking Stanley. I'm Jody Vance. We're all ready to bring you extensive Canucks playoff postgame coverage from Boston, so settle in as we begin by revisiting the highlights. And apparently, Prime Minister Stephen Harper isn't on the Canada's team bandwagon just yet. Hello, where's the jersey? Coming off his worst outing as a Canuck, certainly all Vancouver fans' eyes were on the man in net. Best chance for the Canucks came at about the 5-minute mark of the first, and the good news was that it was the Canucks' top line on the ice for it, keeping the pressure on and getting shots on Tim Thomas. Once again, the Canucks, however, unable to solve the Bruin netminder. It stays no score. Keith Ballard, playing his first ever Stanley Cup final in for the suspended Aaron Rome, sacrifices the body to help out Roberto Luongo and keep it scoreless, and then Lou with a secondary save. Back and forth in this game, a little errors that'll cost you. It's Rich Peverley crashing in on a sweet chip pass, slides 1-5 hole on Luongo with 8 minutes to play in the first. It's 1-0 Bees. The battles at both ends continue. The Canucks do get their chances. Look at the crowd in front here. Manny Malhotra in the middle of that, and still they cannot solve Thomas. It's 1-0 Boston after one period of play. Let's go to the second. Things slowed down after there's Manny Malhotra. Things slowed down in the second a bit. Nerves showing in the second period. The Canucks had outshot the Bruins 2-1. 20-10 at this point. Zdeno Chara challenging Luongo, still a 1-0 game. And on Boston's 12th shot of the game, however, Michael Ryder does get it to go. High glove side on Luongo. The hole gets bigger for the Canucks. It's 2-0, and the home ice advantage grows as the crowd gets right into this in Boston. They're kind of crazy in that TD Garden, and it started to get a little Keystone Cops for the Canucks. Keith Ballard having a moment he'd like to forget, but more than that, it was Luongo wanting that moment back as Brad Marchand flips it up and over the Vancouver netminder. It's 3-0, and the Bees are rolling with lots of hockey to be played. Off to the third we go, and it's more of the same, I'm afraid. Talk about your weird goal. It's Peverley again. And it's right place, right time. The Bruins have outscored the Canucks 12-1 in games 3 and 4. In goes Corey Schneider, taking on the team he grew up watching. And look who's watching. They call him the best in the game today, and he's watching from the sidelines. The Canucks getting buried in Boston. Schneider handled the first few tests very well. The new storyline would be, how would the team respond in front of him with just 10 minutes to play? It is still 4-0. Look at this. Often is the case, lopsided games, things get chippy. This gets downright nasty. A couple of big hits, Marchand taking out not only Ehrhoff, but then Daniel gets clotheslined. Credit Ehrhoff for sticking up for his star, however. It just keeps going. These two teams obviously hate each other. If you needed any, proof of that, just check this out. It's hardcore when your goalie gets in on things. Burrow's clipping Thomas's stick, hard stick back, and then they go a little bit. And who wins? Well, just take a glimpse up there, the scoreboard. You see that? This is not how these guys saw this one going. It's a long, tough, hot night in Boston, and this series coming home Friday for Game 5 and then some. Here are the numbers for you. As much has been made of this series going to the best team on the ice with the play of one Tim Thomas at the center of what is going on in this Stanley Cup final series right now. It's the best goalie on the ice that's winning thus far. Luongo chased after 4 unanswered goals. And to break this down further, we bring in Karin Larson and Cliff Ronning, guys. And Gal.
Thank you. It's okay. I'm just dying to ask Cliff what he makes of tonight's game, because the Canucks' problems seem to be from top to bottom on this team. They've been outscored now 12-1 in the last 2 games in Boston. So what do you make of it, Cliff? You've been there before.
Well, I think it was very frustrating, and you can see the Canucks are frustrated, but it seems like they push back on the aggressive side too late in the game. It's something they have to do much earlier to show that the aggressiveness. Put the puck in deep, play the body, play hard. I didn't see a lot of big hits and turnovers at all by the Canucks. In fact, I saw a lot of times the Bruins were putting the puck in deep. Much like I said, they play much better at home, and then they pounded on our D and created chances.
Yeah, pounding on the D, creating chances, and then putting the puck in the net. But at the other end of the ice, the Canucks aren't creating much. Thomas is playing great, but the Canucks top line, they were buzzing early in the first, and then it just seems like the Bruins get the better of them. And I cut a little pack here together. I called it twin abuse, because Daniel and Henrik are taking a beating, especially in this game in Boston. You'll start to see the way the Bruins are, I call it the Dave Bolin treatment. They're taking the page of the Chicago Blackhawks, which was successful 2 years ago. Chicago maybe didn't have the personnel to do it again this year, but man, is this the plan?
Yeah, well, it looks like it's the same number 63 pestering him, and he's one of their smaller players. And you know, some of the other players got to take note. He's a smaller guy, and he has to pay the price. If he's going to be hitting your best player, you have to definitely go after him in the cleanest way possible. But they can't be roughing up your best player. His job is to get out on the ice and make good, smart hockey plays, and that's what he has been doing. But he's got a guy pestering him. So if that's the case, send someone out to pester Chara and see what happens there.
Who would you nominate for that role?
I'm sure there's a couple that would like to do it. Torres would be one that I would probably, because I think he would drop his gloves if that was the case.
All right, Cliff Ronning, hey, he was there in 1994. We're going to have a lot more from him a little bit later in the show, but right now I'm going to send it back to Jody.
Thank you very much, and we'll look forward to more from you guys later in the show. But first, let's get back down to TD Garden, where Claude Julien is at the podium speaking specifically about Rich Peverley.
Turned out to be not bad tonight. What was it? What did you like about that when you started that?
Well, we had different looks, and you know, you saw a Ryder go up there a few times as well, and when Rich was killing penalties, and I even slid Seguin up there, and I said I'd kind of use different players at that position, but you know, Pev's got good speed. Their line, that forechecks pretty well with Luch on one side, and we thought we'd keep that going, and he still has pretty decent hands, and you know, so we thought we'd start with that, and then Michael's another guy who can fit on that line as well, and as I mentioned, you know, certainly Tyler was a consideration, his speed and skill level on that line at times also.
This is a market that there's lots of armchair coaches and lots of people thinking you should do one thing or another. Does it ever bother you? Does it ever get to you, you know, where maybe people are second guessing and that kind of thing? No, because honestly, Scott, I don't hear it. I really don't. I'd stay away from that stuff, and you know, I need to come to the rink with a clear head. And, you know, I discuss, obviously, all the stuff that's done. It's not always just about me. It's a coaching staff, it's management and stuff like that. We talk about different things. And, of course, the final decision always goes to the coach. But it's not like it's all about me. And so those kind of things don't really bother me because, as I mentioned, I don't really hear it and I don't know about it. So unless you guys remind me.
Hello, Jim Donaldson, Providence Journal. Would you talk a little bit about Tim Thomas, not just his play in the net, but the way he approaches the game, the attitude he brings on the ice? I mean, you see that feistiness in Game 3, certainly again tonight. Well, you know, I don't know if the feistiness is what you mean by the end, but yeah, that's you know, it's indicative of the way he's had the battle to get here. Number one, you know, anybody who knows the story of Tim Thomas is he's taken the real bumpy road to get to the NHL, and he's had so many obstacles in front of him that he's overcome. So it makes him a battler. It makes him the perfect goaltender for our organization, because that's what we are. We're a blue-collar team that goes out and works hard and earns every inch of the ice that you can get. So Tim fits well in regards to that, and you know, again, the way he battles, he never quits on any pucks, and even to the point where he can let a bad goal in every once in a while, or a couple in a game, and you know that when the game is on the line, he's going to be standing on his head again because he battles through it.
Coach Jim Charshaven, Fischler Hockey. Over the past 3 seasons in the playoffs, it seems like the other team has always gotten the key goal at the key time. This year, your guys have answered the bell time and again. What do you attribute that to? Well, I'll tell you, you don't get to where you are without going through adversity, whether it's in the past years, whether it's through the seasons. That's how you grow. And when you've been through a lot of different things, you're capable of learning from those things and growing from those things. And that's what I'd like to attribute this to, is that we've been through some tough times, whether it's been in the playoffs or even during the regular season. You know, we have our ups and downs, and you got to battle through those moments. And when you do that, you certainly become a better team.
Coach Carl Stevens from WBZ Radio. As we go now to Vancouver after 2 impressive wins here in Boston, is there something the team can take west, something that you saw here in Boston that can carry over, whether it's momentum or whatever, to Vancouver?
I think we got to bring our game with us. Simple as that. We have to bring our game, and that has to continue in Vancouver. It doesn't matter where you are. You got to play the same way, whether you're at home or on the road.
Coach Jim Connolly from U.S. College Hockey Online. Can you talk about what Rich Peverley has brought to this team, not just tonight, but since he got here as a player?
Well, we obviously had to make some deals at the end, obviously balance the cap situation, and we needed some depth, and he was certainly one of the guys that was targeted, obviously, in those deals, and we just felt like his versatility, whether he plays on the wing, at center, he had good speed, and we certainly want to improve that area of our game, and so he's given us that, and I mean, we've used him on the power play, we've used him on penalty killing units. As you saw tonight, he moved up in Horton's spot and responded well, so I like his character. He comes to play every day. He's a very serious athlete, and takes good care of himself, and right now he's being rewarded, and you know, I know he's been through some tough years where he hasn't played in the playoffs, but certainly he's been a guy that's certainly enjoying the moment and giving us what we need.
Bruins head coach Claude Julien wrapping up his press conference. A sweet night for him, it must be, at TD Garden in Boston as he prepares his team to come back here with the series tied at 2 games apiece in the Stanley Cup final. We must pause for a moment, but there's much more to come on this Game 4 edition of Seeking Stanley, powered by BC Hydro. Stay with us. Why are we in a panic for Yannick?
Panic because he is so wonderful.
It's your favorite post-game show. I have to tell them what it is. You want to come on TV with me? This is what we live for, really. You want my job? Is this the first time you've ever had your face painted?
Yes.
And how do you feel about it?
I feel happy and crazy.
My co-host, Sophie. Karin Larson, look out. Welcome back to the CBC Vancouver studios for Seeking Stanley, your source for the most in-depth Vancouver Canuck playoff post-game coverage. I'm Jody Vance. On a night that Canuck fans, well, they're a little unnerved about, but one man who certainly is not unnerved about these 2 Boston losses, or losses in Boston, I should say, Coach Alain Vigneault at the podium now to discuss his team's play and not being too concerned in taking the odds.
Right now is getting the puck out in your transition game. They're really bottling you guys up. Do you see that as well, and how do you correct it?
Well, I thought our transition game was good in the first period. I thought we moved the puck well, you know, spent a lot of time in their end. We made one defensive mistake there in the neutral zone where the puck ended up in the back of our net. But other than that, I liked the way we started. Unfortunately, you know, they got a second goal and we seemed to play on our heels a little bit after that. And we did lose some of our north-south and some of our transition. But, I mean, you know, we lost the game and we're going to get ready for Game 5 at home in front of our fans.
Coach Jim Charshafe and Fischler Hockey, given the way the last 2 games have gone, what's your team's confidence level like right now?
It's real good. You know, if somebody would have told me at the beginning of the year that we could play for the Stanley Cup and best 2 out of 3 series with home ice advantage in front of our fans, I would have taken those odds. Would have taken that anytime to play for the big prize. So that's what we've got right now. We're going to put these last 2 games behind us. We play real well at home, and we're going to go and feed off the energy from our fans and give it our best shot.
Coach Mike Zeisberger, Sun Media, just what do you have? I know they're getting chances, but the Sedins have combined for 2 points in 4 games. What can you do to get them fired up and going a little bit?
Well, they're fired up. I mean, they're playing for the Stanley Cup, and you know, they spent a lot of time in the other team's end tonight with no results to show at the end, but it's not from lack of effort, not from lack of playing the right way. They did a good job. You got to give that team credit. They're playing a smart game, and right now they've been able to shut us down offensively here for the last 2 games.
Coach Jim Donaldson, Providence Journal, would you comment, please, on the play and the behavior of Tim Thomas?
Sorry, I was looking for you, and I didn't.
Comment, if you would, please, on both the play and the behavior or attitude, if you will, of Tim Thomas.
Oh, he's one of the best goalies in the league. I mean, he's up for the Vezina. He plays his own style, and he's playing it well right now. He's giving his team a real good chance to win.
Coach, off of that, Kevin Bieksa was just saying that maybe you guys are giving Tim Thomas too much credit, not getting enough at him, not trying, not getting to him enough. Do you see that to be the case as well?
Well, obviously, against a team that plays the way Boston does, you got to get to the inside a little bit more, and all those things that we hear when a team doesn't score goals. You got to get more pucks to the net, more people to the net, da-di-da-di-da. That's what we got to try and do.
Just to follow, is it harder to do that against him because of where he plays and the fact that he's all over the place?
Well, he's obviously one of the few goaltenders in the NHL that plays that way. But his numbers are great. He has also in the past, for whatever reason, given up quite a few goals on certain occasions. He hasn't done that yet. Obviously we're maybe responsible partly for that. We haven't done a good job of getting to the net and getting the screen. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow and see if we can't fix it.
Alain, does Keith Ballard have the confidence to be out there right now? And on Louis, your thoughts on his confidence after tonight?
Louis is going to be fine. I mean, he's one of the best goaltenders in the league, and we've got a lot of trust and faith in him and his ability to play well. Obviously, for Keith, not easy to be put in this situation, but that's the situation he's in. Thanks. Anything in French? Français?
Coach Alain Vigneault, staying the course. TD Garden, we'll get back there in just a moment, but first we want to bring you back here, where Karin Larson is standing by with a man who has been in this situation.
I was just talking to Cliff because in 1994, you guys won Game 1 and then proceeded to lose 3 straight, and you had to change the momentum. You won Game 5 and then Game 6. Okay. So this is what's facing the Canucks right now coming home, Cliff. What's the key to changing momentum and getting something going in their favor?
Well, I really think the momentum changes shift by shift, but early on, obviously the Canuck fans are a big key to it, but it's really keeping the game simple early on for the players.
Well, unfortunately, they got scored on. There was Peverley, and how smart is Claude Julien putting him up on the first line here, gets the opening goal, 5-hole on Luongo. Should have had that one?
Yeah, but also Edler got caught on a pinch, and then all of a sudden that shot there was really deflated the bench. You could see the guys, just a basic snapshot, and kind of dropped down on them, and they lost their confidence.
Here's another one. There seemed to be a defensive mix-up behind the net, and then it ends up on the stick of Brad Marchand, who puts it past Luongo.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's just a little bit of confusion here, and just a lack of intensity. I mean, this is Stanley Cup Finals, huge game, and you got to be putting guys in their seats when they're in front of the net.
Yeah, can't be standing around. And then Peverley, that's a bit of a weird one, with his second of the night to make it 4-0 in the third period. And of course, this was the one that got Luongo the early seat on the bench, and Schneider comes in afterwards. But, when your offense is drying up like that, do you need to do anything different? They were the top offensive team all regular season. Now they seem to have just come up with absolutely zeros here.
Yeah, well, actually, on both those goals, you saw Bieksa get beat on a one-on-one. So these are things you don't usually see by the Canucks, especially the defense. And hopefully that won't keep happening, because the offense starts with good defense. And on turnovers, we haven't seen, especially in the last 2 games, the Canucks haven't had the turnovers and attacked. It's never been that. It's been them, the other team, going in and scoring or getting shots.
If you had to guess which goalie gets to start on Friday?
I don't even want to guess. That's almost near impossible. But
Luongo, 4 goals on 20 shots tonight. Corey Schneider, perfect 9 for 9. Of course, he was only in for the final 10 minutes. Anyway, let's send it back to Jody.
Think of all of the pontificating we can do about who might start that next game. Thank you very much. We'll check in with you guys again. But first, we got to take you down to TD Garden, where Shane Foxman is standing by live. Shane?
Thanks very much, Jody. And I'll tell you what, you were talking about Roberto Luongo, Cliff Ronning, and Jody were. And I know during Roberto Luongo's scrum, the last question he was asked, someone had mentioned to him that the fans at the Rogers Arena cheered tonight when Luongo was pulled and replaced by Schneider. And all Roberto Luongo said was last question, and that was the end of the conversation. The coach just walked by Alain Vigneault just seconds ago, and he tapped me on the shoulder, and he said, tell the people back home to keep the faith. And I think that's kind of what the Canucks are doing right now. They realized they came into town with all kinds of momentum, up 2 games to none, and then things have really taken a downward spiral, being outscored 12-1 here in Boston, and now the series tied at 2. And afterwards, of course, the first person to speak, the man who always speaks and stands up, win or lose, is Captain Henrik Sedin, and here's his thoughts.
Well, I thought we played a lot better than we did the other game. We got to solve Thomas, though. That's the main thing. I mean, he makes a lot of saves, and he gives them momentum, so it's that's our job. We got to keep playing like we did. I don't think we gave up a whole lot of chances 5-on-5, but they scored in the couple they had, and that's we gotta work better in front of Thomas.
Power play again struggled. It seems to be a theme in the series.
Yeah, we got to be a lot better for sure. That's helped us throughout the season, throughout the playoffs. But right now it's hurting us more. We lose momentum, and they gain momentum their PK, so that's has to be better. Yeah, I think we're doing a good job physically. I mean, it's I don't know if you mean Burr in the end or what. I mean, Thomas is slashing him the back of his legs, and that's sometimes those are tough to take. But we got to move on. I thought we did a lot better job tonight.
Henrik, physically, it seems like they're doing everything they can to hit your top players and to be very aggressive in the forecheck. Do you get the sense that it's working at times here?
Yeah, but I thought tonight we have to solve Thomas. That's our main thing. I mean, our power play has to get going, and we have to do a better job of scoring when we get the chances. That's our main thing. I mean, we're a very physical team. I don't think they're hurting us physically or anything. It's a battle out there. I thought we had enough chances to get a few, but we got to move on. I mean, we need to go back home and recharge and get better.
Henrik Sedin, of course, talking about the power play, and right now, through the first 4 games, the Canucks power play the best in the league during the regular season, 1 for 23. 1 for 23, that goal coming in the second game. I believe tonight they were 0 for 6. That's the 3rd time in this series that they've been 0 for 6, so they really got to find a way to get the power play working. Also being outscored 14-5 through the first 4 games of this series. Obviously, a lot needs to improve as the Canucks try to get back that momentum that they had coming into Boston. Before we send it back to the studio, let's talk a little trivia for you, maybe something to brighten up the day for Canucks fans. Lancaster Vintage, of course, they make all that cool retro gear for the Canucks. You can only get it at the Canucks team store at the Rogers Arena. Tonight we wanted to focus on Keith Ballard. Of course, he's had an up and down season. A chance tonight to get in the lineup thanks to the Aaron Rome suspension. Not the reason he wants to get in, but he is in. He did play tonight. Some good moments, some bad moments. Our question tonight, we want to know Keith Ballard's hometown. Where was he born and raised? Keith Ballard's hometown. That's our question tonight. We're going to take the 22nd correct answer, because tonight was the Canucks' 22nd playoff game. Email at shane.foxman@cbc.ca, shane.foxman@cbc. Name Keith Ballard's hometown. We'll have the answer for you in the winner a little bit later in the show. We'll have more player reaction as well from here in Boston, but for now, let's go back to Vancouver. Jody?
Thank you very much, Shane. Yes, we will be back with you in just moments, but we got to take a quick break here. There's more to come on Seeking Stanley, presented by our friends at BC Hydro. More reaction from TD Garden, player reaction, of course. We will continue to break this game down for you. It's a big game 4. The series is tied at 2 apiece. Stick around. We're back after this.
Ladies and gentlemen, shutout streak of 172 minutes. 172 minutes. They've got
Vezina and last year's Vezina. He's just a very aggressive guy. Luongo, he's trying to match him 200 feet away.
We've still yet to hear from Tim Thomas. We're back here at CBC Vancouver Studios. This is Seeking Stanley, your home of complete Canucks playoff postgame news and views. I'm Jody Vance. We will get to the Boston side of things, but first we want to connect with Shane Foxman once again and talk more about the Vancouver Canucks. Shane?
Thanks very much, Jody. You know what? So much was made of the injury to Dan Hamhuis in Game 1, that hit on Milan Lucic, and I think we're starting to realize what kind of effect he has. You know, when he's on and he's playing, you don't notice him, but when he's not playing, you sure notice the fact that he's not on the ice. Just a steady, calm influence on the blue line, and that's something the Canucks have missed the last couple of games. As we said, being outscored 12-1, I think that's pretty obvious. Also on the injury front, while no one's talking about it, I think a lot of people are suggesting that maybe Ryan Kessler is playing with some sort of injury. So dominant at times against Nashville. Played okay and seemed to be a little slower against San Jose, but seems to be having all kinds of trouble offensively in this series right now. Afterwards, tonight, of course, we heard from Henrik Sedin. Kevin Bieksa, always another one of the guys that win or lose is front and center and willing to talk to the media. And like Henrik says, look, we have to play better. We still have home ice advantage, and we have to make that work for us. That's why we work so hard during the regular season.
I feel great right now. It's playoff hockey, though. You expect to be drained after every game, and you leave it all out there and get 2 days of rest and go at it again.
But I mean, collectively as a group, are you feeling, you know, that forecheck and that pressure and looking over your shoulder at times?
No, I thought at times we did a good job of breaking their forecheck. It's just sometimes we're not ready for it. When we're ready for it, there's a lot of plays where we made nice outlets and we went on the attack. So it's a matter of being more consistent doing it every time.
You talk a bit about Keith and his game. I mean, he looked at times like he had trouble with the puck back there. I mean, a tough situation to come into.
Yeah, I thought he played well, though. It is a tough situation, and again, he's trying to make reads out there. He hasn't done for a while, so he'll get better as the series goes on.
Can you draw on the second, or can you draw on the Chicago series and kind of what happened there? You had the 2 big losses and were able to regroup.
Yeah, I think we learned not to get too down on ourselves, and we're going back to Vancouver, where we're a very good team. We've played really well at home. We've won our last 3 or 4 games there, so we'll use the energy of the crowd and we'll get back to play our game and take care of business there, and then come back here and take care of business again.
You have 2 excellent defensemen down right now, and they're not going to come back. At the same time, the other Ds are maybe trying to do too much. Can it explain the fact that...
No, I don't think we're doing enough. It's no secret we need our defensemen to chip in more and get into the play, and right now it's a combination of things, but we're not helping the forwards out, we're not jumping in the play, and vice versa. The last 2 games need a little help from the forwards too coming back so we can get those pucks and move them up, and it's like I said, it's a 5-man group right now. We're not working as one.
Kevin Bieksa talking about the team not really working as one solid unit, and that's something we've seen over the last couple of games. Canucks, all kinds of power play opportunities tonight once again seems to have dried up, something that they counted on throughout the regular season and into the playoffs as well. Their bread and butter, you might say, 1 for 23 in the Stanley Cup final. And coming into the final, everyone was talking about Boston's power play, and that was struggling, but it seems that things have changed dramatically over the last 4 games, and especially in the last 2. Now, one of the reasons the Canucks are having so much trouble, of course, has been the play of Tim Thomas. Thomas and Luongo, 2 Vezina Trophy candidates coming into the series, but right now, as the Canucks have been outscored 14-5, I think it's safe to say Tim Thomas is getting the best of the play, and we had a chance to talk to him after the game as well.
At any time in the game, it's important, but that's part of what's given us success over the last couple games, is guys putting in that effort, doing the tough work that doesn't necessarily, lead to goals right away, but are necessary for us to win. And there was every play like that throughout the game. When you add them all up, they become so important.
Jim Charshafian, Fischler Hockey. Tim, can you talk about the love affair between you and this city? I'd be shocked if you ever had to buy a drink in this town.
I've been so focused on playing the playoffs that I'm a little bit removed from what's happening inside the city right now. I felt that it was the best way to approach these playoffs and the finals, the best way to keep my feet on the ground is kind of isolate myself, and so that's what I've kind of done. And I've stayed away from reading the media and watching the media and stuff like that. So I can't comment on that one.
Tim, what was the reaction like in the crowd, in the room after the game when Nathan Horton was in there, and
What did you think of Rich Beverly's job replacing him?
What did I think of what? Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I was very, very happy to see, Nathan up and around and in the locker room. I wasn't exactly sure of his status. I'd heard that he was okay, but then I'd heard that it was a severe concussion, and I didn't know if okay meant he's going to live, or, when I personally got to see him in the locker room, I was incredibly happy, and it gave me a big boost. He was there to, pass the jacket on him. We didn't pass the jacket on him last game, with him gone, but he, we could have, I think the team would have been happy with leaving it with Horty for the rest of this series, but he wanted to give it away and keep the tradition going that we'd started. And actually he gave it to Peverly, the guy who replaced him on the line, and he is obviously great for us tonight, and he got the first goal and the last goal. That first goal and then the fourth goal are both very important goals, and we wouldn't have won without the way he played. And I think he did a great job stepping into Horty's spot on the line, and I'm very happy for Pevs too.
Tim Thomas, of course, talking about Nathan Horton, and regardless of who you root for, who you cheer for, what jersey you wear, it's always good to hear that you see a player like Nathan Horton carried off the ice on a stretcher, to see him that he's up and around, and to hear the player saying that he is okay. That is good news. Tim Thomas, as we mentioned, him and Roberto Luongo, finalists for the Vezina Trophy. Tim Thomas giving up just 5 goals in 4 games in the Stanley Cup final, probably the odds-on favorite right now for the Conn Smythe. We'll have much more from the rink still to come, but for now, back to the studio in Vancouver and Jody.
Thank you very much, Shane. Yeah, no one really happier than I think Nathan Horton's family than Aaron Rome to hear he's up and around and doing much better. Okay, we have more to come here on the program. Of course, a quick break. We're back. This is Seeking Stanley, powered by BC Hydro on CBC Vancouver. We're back in a moment. We do have an edition of CBC News Vancouver coming up shortly, right after Seeking Stanley. Thanks for sticking around for more Vancouver Canuck playoff news and views here on Seeking Stanley. I'm Jody Vance. We go back now live to TD Garden. Shane Foxman, time to talk more Canucks hockey on a disappointing night for Vancouver fans.
Thanks very much, Jody. Yeah, absolutely. Disappointing for the fans at home, disappointing for the fans that made that trip here to Boston, and there was thousands of them. And I'm kind of curious to talk to some of the fans after the game and see what kind of treatment they got from the Boston fans tonight. We all know what happened after Game 3. We'll see what happened after tonight's game. Again, Bruins fans should be pretty happy with the way their team is playing, absolutely stealing momentum back from the Canucks. Vancouver wins a couple of dramatic games on home ice, including Game 2, which was the return of Manny Malhotra. So many good feelings and good vibes coming out of the Vancouver dressing room at that point. A completely different story now, as they've been outscored 12-1 in games 3 and 4 here in Boston. And afterwards, we talked to Manny Malhotra, who once again kind of repeated the team mantra. It's 2-2. We still have home ice, and we're heading back home to play in front of our faithful.
Our game plan doesn't change. At home or on the road, we try to execute in the same manner at all times. And what it comes down to is intensity and execution, and we didn't have it tonight. But again, I'm sure we're going to feed off the energy of the crowd in Vancouver, but as far as our game plan or our motivation, it doesn't change.
Manny, how frustrating is it to come to town with all kinds of momentum, or you're trying to search to find a way to get it?
We're not searching. We realized it wasn't going to be a cakewalk. They play really well at home. They fed off the energy of their crowd, and they were able to accomplish what they had set out for. So nothing changes for us. We're going to go back to Vancouver with our focus on keeping home ice.
Power play seems to be becoming a theme for the series. You guys lived off during the regular season. Can't seem to get anything going now. Is it Tim Thomas, or is it more than that?
We're always focused about what we're doing, and right now the execution just isn't quite there, and they're doing a great job of getting in shot lanes and denying us shots. So It's a combination of a lot of things in there.
Talking about the effort the Canucks are putting forward, they are getting a lot of pucks to the net, close to 40 shots again tonight, but they're having a tough time beating Tim Thomas. We also heard Manny talking about the fans in Vancouver and how they're going to have to feed off the fans in Vancouver. I mentioned off the top of the show, Alain Vigneault, after his press conference, as he was making his way out to the team bus, stopped by to say, hey, Shane, tell the guys in Vancouver to keep the faith. This is 2-2. It is not over yet, and that's being echoed by all of his players, including Daniel Sedin.
When you get down, maybe on the, 3 and 2s and those kind of things, maybe you try to fake a shot and go by him, but when you're down there, you try to get pucks to net as much as you can and get the rebounds. And like I said, we had a few point-blank chances tonight, and he stood in his head.
Do you worry about Roberto's confidence?
Not at all. He's the same as anyone else. I think he's been playing good the whole year, and right now there's a few games left. He can't be down or stuff like that. I think he's got to go out there and play his game. He's got to play the way that got him here, and we as a team has to play the way that got us here too.
But 1 goal in 2 games just doesn't help him that much, right? That's
no, exactly. Line, right? Tonight we gotta score a few in the first period with the way we played and the chances we had. We gotta score a few, and then they're going to be back on their heels. And right now, they survived the first period and got going, and I thought it was a pretty even game after that.
But there's another Blackhawks series as well where Roberto struggled for 3 straight games as well. So he has survived, but this trend has appeared before. So the confidence could be an issue. Really.
No, he's fine. If you ask him to, I think he's fine. Like I said, when you got this far, there's the confidence should never be an issue. I think you can't get to where we are right now with the goal that struggles. I think he's playing good, and he's got to keep playing the way he is.
Daniel.
And you heard Daniel saying confidence, whether he's talking about Roberto Luongo or talking about the entire team. It's 2-2. I know it kind of feels worse after the last 2 games for the Canucks and probably for the fans for sure, just the way the last 2 games had gone, but it is 2-2. It's a best of 3 now, 2 of the games on ice in Vancouver, so that does bode well for the Canucks. They've been great on home ice all season, Jody.
Yeah, it does go back to what Coach Alain Vigneault said in his press conference. He'll take the odds 2 of 3 when they've got home ice advantage. Thank you, Shane. We'll check back in with you. We're not done yet. More Canuck playoff postgame news and views to come here. Plus, Tony Parson and Gloria Makarenko are coming up on a special edition of CBC News Vancouver. It's immediately following Seeking Stanley, presented by BC Hydro. We are back in moments. Stanley, I'm Jody Vance. We go down to the TD Garden now where Shane Foxman is standing by. Shane, we got to do the contest.
Thanks very much, Jody. We're going to get to our contest winner in just a second. First, though, we want to get a little more tape in one of the guys that has definitely been getting under the skin of the Canucks and probably the fans as well as the Bruins' Brad Marchand scored that beautiful shorthanded goal in Game 3 and was once again a force on the ice tonight. And I thought that goal he scored, he almost tripped, I thought he tripped Keith Ballard behind the net, which led to that goal, but no call on the play, and before you know it, it's in the back of the net. But when the Canucks can't get one puck past Tim Thomas, it's hard to look for fault on 1 or 2 of the goals that the Bruins scored. But let's hear from Brad Marchand.
Yeah, I tried to jump over Ehrhoff there and I clipped him with my arm, and then Sedin tried to take a run at me, and that would have been a cheap hit. I already had a penalty against me, and so I just ducked on him and saw Ballard come, and he had his gloves off, so I dropped mine.
What did you think of Timmy standing up for himself in the crease? You call yourself a rep, but he did a pretty good job tonight of making sure he didn't take any grief from Burroughs, who apparently slashed him first, and then Timmy went after him.
I just saw the replay, but obviously Timmy doesn't like taking any kind of cheap shots or hits or anything like that, and he'll give it right back. Especially when there's only a minute and a half in the game and we're up by 4 goals. He likes to give it back. So obviously, it's nice to see by Timmy. He's a tough guy, big part of the team, and we don't want to see guys taking shots at him.
Brad, can the continued physicality take a toll? I mean, you've been through long series now before. Does it take a toll if you continue to pound bodies like that?
Yeah, it takes a toll on both teams. When you it just seems like both teams are playing very physical right now, and a lot of guys are getting bumps and bruises and worn down. And we just want to continue pushing forward and be willing to sacrifice our bodies and make those hits. Hopefully, it'll wear their guys down a little more than us, but we'll see.
Brad, since that Horton hit, you guys have outscored them 12-1. Is that a coincidence?
Yeah, I think so. It's just we just seem to be getting a lot of lucky bounces right now. You saw that Peverley goal there tonight is Most of the time those don't go in, and a couple goals in the first game. Just lucky goals. So we're just trying to go play hard and hope for the best.
Knowing that like they're
Brad Marchand, of course, and he did score. It was the third goal, of course, and it looked like he tripped Keith Ballard behind the net, came out in front, got the pass, and put it by Luongo. But I think it was the second goal by Michael Ryder that really took the steam out of the Canucks, one that you really thought Roberto Luongo should have. He talked today that he thought it went off Sammy Salo's stick. We looked at replays, didn't look like it to us. It was definitely knuckling, but it's hard to say. Roberto Luongo probably had the best view out of it than anybody. Let's get to our contest winner, of course, Vintage Lancaster. They make all that cool gear, the retro gear for the Vancouver Canucks. You can only get it at the Canucks team store at the Rogers Arena. Today our question was about Keith Ballard, who checked back into the lineup tonight, of course, and we wanted to know what Keith Ballard's hometown. And the winner, no, it wasn't you, Jody. I know you tried today, but you weren't the correct emailer. The winner tonight that knew it was Baudette, Minnesota, was Lori Timmons. Lori Timmons winning the prize pack tonight, so a couple of sweatshirts, a couple of T-shirts. Lori, someone will be in touch with you. Jody, maybe you'll win in Game 6.
All right, I'll keep my fingers crossed. I like that old logo. I'm rather fond of it. I'm also fond of the logo from 1994, oddly enough. Karin Larson and Cliff Ronning to break this down a little further for us.
Well, I'm going to ask Cliff to put his coach's hat on right now, Jody. And if you're coaching this team coming back for Game 5 on Friday, Cliff, what's the focus?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just show your speed again in the neutral zone. I think that's the most important thing. Guys like Kessler moving their feet more, getting the pucks to the net. And the power play, when Boston takes, crazy slashes at guys, they got to make them pay on the power play.
Well, speaking of Ryan Kessler, look, we're going back here to May 24th, the final game against San Jose, where he appeared to suffer an injury, limps off the ice, goes to the dressing room. Of course, he comes back and scores a heroic tying goal. But then we're going to transition to some footage from tonight, starting with his opening shift right off the face-off. Look, he was guns a-blazing, had that off the face-off, a couple of hits on this shift as well. But then appears to slow down. So, Cliff, when you're looking at Kessler playing this game, do you sense that there's something wrong?
Well, I think there could be something wrong, but he's a leader. He's the type of guy that the team can rally behind. He's playing hurt, obviously, but he's the type of guy that can make the big plays and get in the other team's faces. And you can see there in front of the net, this guy's a leader on the ice, and those are the types you need out playing hard.
Hasn't scored a goal in this series after getting a fantastic 41 in the regular season. So, the speculation is there is something wrong with Kessler. Like I said, we will never know, but oh boy, nice to see him put one in the net in Game 5 for sure. Before I let you go, how are things at Base Hockey Labs?
Oh, they're doing unbelievable. We're having fun. We're going to be in Alberta, Montreal, you name it. We're having a good time.
Nicely done.
Thank
Thanks a lot, Cliff.
Thank you.
Jody?
All right, let's revisit the highlights, or I guess they'd be lowlights from this game. Some short highlights for you, just in case you missed it. All right, let's roll those highlights, can we? It's coming off the worst outing as a Vancouver Canucks. Certainly all Vancouver fans' eyes were on the man in net. Back and forth play, the name of this game, but yeah, Rich Peverley cashes in on the sweet chip pass. Slides one, 5-hole on Luongo with 8 minutes to go in the first. It's 1-0 Bees, and look at this second period. Boston's 12th shot of the game. High glove side on Luongo. The hole gets bigger for the Canucks. It's 2-0, and home ice advantage grows with the crowd noise. And it started to get a little bit Keystone Cops for the Canucks. Keith Ballard having a moment he'd probably like to forget. But more than that, it's one that Luongo wants back as Brad Marchand flips it up and over the Vancouver netminder. It's 3-zip, and the Bees are rolling with lots of hockey to be played. Off to the third we go, and it's more of the same, I'm afraid. Talk about your weird goal here. It is Peverley again. Right place, right time, and the Bruins have been outscored 12-1 in Game 3 and 4. And that would see Corey Schneider go in to take on the team he grew up watching. That would be it for Luongo there. Corey Schneider getting the call. And the man they call the best in the game today is out watching this one from the sidelines. The Canucks getting buried in Boston in Game 4. And as often is the case when things get late and lopsided in a game, things get more than chippy. They get downright nasty. Couple of big hits. Marchand takes out not one, but two Vancouver Canucks. Ehrhoff and Daniel clotheslined, in fact. Credit Ehrhoff for getting up and sticking up for his star there. These two teams obviously hate each other, but if you needed further proof, just check this out. It's hardcore when your goalie is getting in on things. Burrows clipping on Thomas's stick, a hard stick back to the back of the legs on Burrows, and then they go a bit. But who wins? Well, it's just a glimpse up at the scoreboard to see that. This is not how these guys saw this one going. It's a long, hot night in Boston, and this series coming home Friday for Game 5, and then some. Speaking of hot in Boston, Shane Foxman. And we'll check one in last time with you.
Thanks very much, Jody. And you mentioned the Canucks after Game 3 talked about how they had to turn the other cheek. Kevin Bieksa said they can't get sucked into all that extracurricular activity after the whistles, and they did a great job of kind of skating away after every whistle and not getting sucked in, but in the end they couldn't get their power play working. Every time Boston sent a man to the box, the Canucks just came up empty. In the series, 1 for 23, and they've given up 2 shorthanded goals, so as hard as it is to believe they're -1 on the power play, that is definitely going to have to change when they get back to Vancouver. The Canucks are going to be in a whole lot of trouble. Jody.
All right, thank you very much, Shane. Tony and Gloria are at the news desk waiting to bring you all the latest from BC and indeed around the globe on CBC News Vancouver, a special post-Canuck playoff edition. For everybody here working hard behind the scenes, for Karin Larson, Cliff Ronning, Shane Foxman, I'm Jody Vance. Make it a great night. We'll see you Friday.
You're watching Seeking Stanley, powered by BC Hydro Power Smart. Let's be smart with our power.